a hidden question asked by Arjuna. You have told so many things, but how can I recognize the predominance of the particular mode? So to answer that, then Krishna speaks in verse number 11, 12, and 13 about characteristics of these modes, or the principal characteristics of these modes. So one may just So before going to that verse, what are the factors that a particular mode makes a particular mode prominent? Can any one of you say what factors can the particular mode make it prominent over the living entity? Like one, this Srila Prabhupada speaks this.
Prarabdha karma.
Yes, very good. Past karma, that is correct. Anything else?
Desires, Prabhuji, past desires.
Okay, past desires, the karma. Okay.
And association also.
Very good, very good. In the current time, what is the association? Very correct. What else?
Knowledge, Prabhuji.
Existence of knowledge or not. Okay, fine. And then we can say also the point amount of this quality of food that is one is eating, or what are his past misconceptions, preconceived notions, and also we can say based on what time of the day, which place that activity is taking place. So many factors are there which can make a particular mode prominent. So why we are discussing this? So that we can also measure in our own life which are the places or which are the things that agitate us, or which are the type of people when we are with them, then that agitate us in some way or other. Somebody may get lusty, or somebody may get angry, somebody may get anxious in particular type of association. So if we are able to analyze this, then it will help us to prepare ourselves or to avoid it completely if possible. Such things, then that will help us to not get affected by a particular mode. Very good. So now let's go to the verse number 11. Please repeat. Sarvadvareshu dehesmin
सर्वद्वारेषु देहेऽस्मिन्
prakasha upajayate
प्रकाशोपजायते
jnanam yada tada vidyat
ज्ञानं यदा तदा विद्यात्
vivruddham sattvamithyuta.
विवृद्धं सत्त्वमित्युत.
Translation, please.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, can I?
Please.
The manifestation of the mode of goodness can be experienced when all the gates of the body are illuminated by knowledge.
So, manifestation when experienced when all the gates of body are illuminated by knowledge. Sarvadvareshu dehesmin prakasha upajayate. So there are 9 gates. Sarvadvareshu, when you say there are 9 gates in the body, dehe. So Sarvadvareshu dehesmin prakasha upajayate. They are illuminated by what? Not that there is a 100-watt bulb, but prakash upajayate of what? By jnanam yada tada vidyat vivruddham sattvamithyuta. Then we can understand that the mode of goodness is extremely prominent in a particular living entity when all the gates of senses or the body are illuminated by knowledge. So if we see the purport, Srila Prabhupada speaks very wonderfully that there are 9 gates, and then Prabhupada says when every gate is illuminated, then we can understand one has developed the mode of goodness. Yes. Then further Prabhupada says, in the mode of goodness, one can see things in the right position, One can hear things in the right position, or one can taste things in the right position. One becomes cleansed inside and outside. In every gate, there is development of symptoms of happiness, and that is a position of goodness. So what does exactly mean to see things in right position? Yes, anyone can say?
In
Or
service
here,
of Krishna Prabhu.
in service of Krishna, that will be transcendental. We are talking of goodness. Seeing things right position, hear in right position, and what is the third thing? Taste things in right position. Yeah. And so on for all other senses. What it means?
Having correct knowledge about everything.
Having correct knowledge about them. Means what? What is that correct knowledge?
That is which is bad, which is good, like that. At least by
Yes. Very nice. What is right? What is wrong? You know. So we can say that it is like knowledge of proper discrimination.
yeah.
When that is there, then all the gates of the body are illuminated by this knowledge, that every sense knows what is right and what is wrong. Now, what does it mean every sense knows? Not that senses are conscious, but the person behind that has become conscious about what is right and what is wrong. In this regard, there is a very because now the point is that things are so vague sometimes that it is very, very difficult to decide at a particular time what is right and what is wrong. So person may get confused at certain situations in the life. So in that situation, what can one do? So that is very, very crucial. Now, when we are speaking in a class and we all are hearing, so it is easy to say, yes, we should have proper discrimination. But when actual thing happens, we are not sure what will actually happen. So then that's why there is a very nice prayer in this regard, which you all might have heard. It says, "Oh my Lord, please give me the strength to do the right things." What's the next? "Oh my Lord, please give me the strength to do the wrong things." And then the third is very, very important line, that, "Oh my Lord, please give me the intelligence to discriminate between the two." Because you may get the strength to do the right, you may get the strength to avoid to do the wrong. But what is right and what is wrong? So my Lord, please give me the intelligence to discriminate. And yes, it is very much in line with our philosophy, because we also say that Krishna says, "Matta smritir jnanam apohanam cha," that he is only the one who gives the knowledge, remembrance, and even forgetfulness if required. So that is what is knowledge of proper discrimination. So now let's see what is the characteristics of mode of passion. Lobha pravrittirarambha.
Lobha
pravrittirarambha.
Karmanam ashama spruha.
Karmanam samspruha.
Rajasyetani jayante.
Rajasyetani jayante.
Vivruddhe bharatarshabha.
Vivruddhe bharatarshabha.
Translation, please.
O chief of Bharatas, when there is an increase in the mode of passion, the symptoms of great attachment, fruitive activity, intense endeavor, and uncontrollable desire and hankering develop.
Please read the purport.
Yes, Prabhu, 1 minute. Purport by his divine grace A.C. Bhaktivinoda Prabhupada. One in the mode of passion is never satisfied with the position he has already acquired. He hankers to increase his position. If he wants to construct a residential house, he tries his best to have a palatial house. as if he would be able to reside in that house eternally. And he develops a great hankering for sense gratification. There is no end to sense gratification. He always wants to remain with his family in his house and to continue the process of sense gratification. There is no cessation of all of this. All these symptoms should be understood as characteristics of mode of passion.
So Srila Prabhupada is very beautifully explaining here symptoms of mode of passion, that they are very much attached to their possessions, especially the house and the family, and they have a great hankering for unlimited sense gratification. And also we see that they want to construct very big palatial houses to reside in, as if eternally, Prabhupada is saying. So they are not aware that at the end of their death, they are not going to enjoy anything what they have constructed. What to talk of this? There are some cases wherein people spend their entire life building a big palatial house, and at the end, when they are about to enter the house, they die. So they don't even get 1 day to stay in the house. So there are some cases like that. Or one case I have heard that the person had put all his energy, all his savings to build a house, and somebody who was so envious of this person, he burned that house before the inauguration. So we can see that people are like asses. They are working very hard to fulfill their desires without having any understanding that they cannot stay there for long. So so if somebody may say ki, no Prabhu, I am working very hard to build a palatial house for the pleasure of Krishna, or I am going to purchase a very luxurious car, for the sake of service to the Vaishnavas. That's why I'm working very hard. So if somebody says like that, is that okay? Yes, any thoughts on this?
But not at the cost of sadhana and minimal regulative principles and bhakti and everything. Those are the first things. And after that, again, atyahara, prayasa, those things come into the picture. So we should not endeavor such things at the cost of sadhana and bhakti.
Yes, this is a very balanced understanding that like some people, they are extremely rich, or because of their past karmas, they get a lot of money without much endeavor, based on whatever job they have or whatever position in the society they have. So when they do that and without much endeavor, so that is fine. But if somebody comes out of the street and he feels, oh, I should also have a very palatial house for Krishna, and he's working day and night, not only one shift, he's working 2 shifts or 3 shifts sometimes, foaming at his mouth just to fulfill the EMI and all those things. So then he's missing the goal. So like that. So that is not expected. So then that goes again in the passionate zone. So that all things we have to learn to understand from this. This is what Krishna is teaching us. Or somebody may say that all the family members are the devotees. So then I can stay in family life till my last breath. So what is the problem? Is there any problem or no problem? Is it okay? Yes, please. I'm expecting some response.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, that is a fake understanding, Prabhuji. It is not possible. Even if we are surrounded by devotees and in bhakti, the attraction of Maya and distractions that are there in this materialistic world are too strong. So why take risk?
Very correct. And do you think of any personalities who have taken a step to not stay with the family life for long? Any one of you?
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Okay, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we can say he has taken that step for a very completely different cause.
Kardama Muni.
Yeah, Kardama Muni. What about him? Yes, can you speak about Kardama Muni? What exactly he did?
He while marrying only, he told that as soon as we get a child, I'll leave.
Yes, very good. And then what happened?
Then he got 9 daughters. Then Devahuti asked for a son. And as soon as Kapila Muni was born, he left.
Who is Kapila Muni?
Kapila Avtara.
He gave Sankhya philosophy.
Sankhya Yoga.
God's incarnation.
Yeah, but what is his position?
Prajapati.
God's incarnation.
Somebody said something. I could not
He is
hear.
the incarnation of the Lord.
Ah, yes, perfect. So the point is that even Lord himself appeared in the house, yet Kardamuni did not bother to stay there, for rest of his life. So it is not that he was so hard-hearted that he wanted to go, but just to set an example in the society. If he would continue to stay, then people will follow his example. Similarly, we see example of Bharat Maharaj. He was so popular, or he made things so wonderful that whole this Varsha, which was known as Ilavata Varsha, came to be known by his name as Bharat Varsha. Despite that, despite gaining so much of popularity, he took to retired life as soon as he enthroned his son. Did not wait for long. In a very young time, young age, he did that. And somebody may say, okay, these are all examples of males doing all these things. But we have example of Kunti Maharani also, who in a female body is praying to Krishna that please break all my tie of affection towards Pandavas and Vrishnis. So let me simply deal with them as devotees and not as my blood relatives or my relatives who are related to the body. So like that. So this we can see from these examples that they were not at all attached. So when we are wandering in this world in embodied, conditioned state and trying to come out of that, we have to see whether we are becoming passionate or whether we are utilizing passion in service of Krishna. Okay, so we'll go to the next verse. Aprakasho pravrittischa
Aprakasho
pravrittischa
pramado moha evacha
Pramado
tamasi etani jayante
tamasi
vivrude kuru nandana.
vivrude.
Translation, please.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
When there is an increase in the mode of ignorance, O son of Kuru, darkness, inertia, madness, and illusion are manifested. Hare Krishna.
So this is about ignorance, that darkness, inertia, madness, all these things will manifest. Please read the purport also, small purport.
Okay. When there is no illumination, knowledge is absent. One in the mode of ignorance does not work by a regulative principle. He wants to act whimsically for no purpose. Even though he has the capacity to work, he makes no endeavor. This is called illusion. Although consciousness is going on, life is inactive. These are the symptoms of one in the mode of ignorance. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Thank you. So what is this acts whimsically means?
According to his own will and this one he works.
According to his own will, he works. Will of who? Whose will?
the person, his own.
When we say the person, we are referring to what?
Conditions.
Soul. So soul is desiring. So soul will desire purely.
According to his modes. According to his modes.
Okay, according to the modes. But so who is there in between? Sorry?
Senses, Prabhuji, controlled by senses.
No. There is somebody there in between who in conditioned state acts whimsically.
According to his mind, Prabhuji.
Yes, exactly. So according to his mind, mind is conditioned or impure and acts whimsically means whatever mind dictates, it acts like that. And Srila Prabhupada has also encouraged all of us that when we take to Krishna consciousness, we should learn to be independently thoughtful. So how is this different from acting whimsically, or is it the same?
Here we have to listen to the spiritual master or like that.
Where?
Guru.
No, where Guru comes in picture?
According to his mind means it may be right or wrong. He may not know. He can
Correct.
take the advice of anybody.
Yeah, but now my question is, what is difference between acting whimsically and being independently thoughtful?
Acting whimsically is according to the scriptures, Prabhuji.
Acting whimsically is according to scriptures. No, just now we discussed that acting whimsically is according to the whim of the mind in the conditioned state. So independently thoughtful means we will be taught by our spiritual masters the process of Krishna consciousness, and we will be taught all the principles, and we have to be thoughtful at how we can utilize these principles in our life, in our situation, because everyone's situation is completely unique, and at certain places he may need consult his guiding authorities for a particular thing. So that way one has to be independently thoughtful that how I can apply all these things in my life. He is wanting to apply based on the regulation of scriptures, not that he wants to be irregular. But there are certain situations where certain things are not able to apply fully. So then he consults his authorities, and based on that, he takes the guidance. Okay, so now in the next two verses, now we'll talk about what happens at the time of death when different modes are prominent. So in 14 and 15, Krishna will talk about result in each mode. And in 16, 17, and 18, Krishna will talk about result of acting in the particular mode. So now let's go to verse number 14. Yada sattve prabuddhetu pralayam yati dehabhrit tadottam vidam lokan amalan pratipadyate. Translation.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. When one dies in the mode of goodness, he attains to the pure higher planets of the great sages.
Okay, thank you. So when here very nice words are used here. So you see, yada sattve pravruddhetu pralayam yati dehabhrit. So dehabhrit means the embodied soul, one who has taken to this body. Pralayam yati, when that deha, when that body comes to an end, pralaya. So when the word pralaya here is there, it is the meaning is dissolution, but dissolution of what? Dissolution of the body. not the cosmic dissolution, which happens at the end of the life of Brahma. But here it is talking about the bodily dissolution at the time of end of the body of that particular living entity. So if at that particular time, at that time of dissolution of the body, if sattva pravruddhe, if there is a prominence of sattva guna, then what happens? Tad uttama vidam loka. Then he goes to uttama vidam. Now what is uttama? Tama is darkness, and uttama means that which goes beyond darkness. So then such a person who is who has developed goodness as a prominence, then he reaches to those planets wherein there are uttama vidam, and those who are amalan, free from tinges of passion and ignorance. Pratipadyate, he attains. Yeah. So in a purport, Srila Prabhupada talks about that these higher planetary systems are nothing but the Janalok, Maharlok, Tapalok, Brahmalok, all these things. And there they are enjoying happiness, But again, as we discussed in the beginning part of the this chapter, that even this mode of goodness binds one. So in this happiness and in the pride of knowledge. So, but that happiness is there, And here Prabhupada is saying that there are impurities in the material world, but the mode of goodness is the purest form of existence in the material world. And there are different kinds of planets for different kinds of living entities. And in here also we can see in this particular world when we are living, we can see different type of people staying in different kind of, places. So there are places where we can even fear to go, or not fear in the sense, but we shrug to go. We don't want to go to those places, some ghettos or something like that. Where we cannot even think of staying there because there is no cleanliness, and nothing, purity is not of concern. So such places we cannot think of even going when we are, to this situation in our life. But there are people who are there, they are staying, and in one sense, we see that they are staying there happily, But that does not happen with everyone. Or if there are other places also, like king stays in big palaces and all those things. So, but there are some saintly people who can't even think of staying in such palatial buildings. So there is a very nice story in this connection that one king, he wanted to invite one saintly person in his in his palace and request him to stay there for some time. So he calls him in the palace, in the sabha, and tells him, please stay with me for some days, here. So the saintly person, he says, which place you are going to, give me for the accommodation? And he shows one of the most opulent room in the palace, which is decorated so nicely for the that saintly person. And he says, actually I cannot stay here, because your palace is stinking. So then king becomes very wondering. He starts wondering, Hare, how can my palace stink? My palace is so nice, fragrant, and I'm staying here for so many years. It's so wonderful. So then the saintly person understands what the king is thinking, and he says, come with me. And he says, you come in a normal person's clothing, don't come as a king. So then he goes around the kingdom and he visits places, various places, and he enters into the place where there are these tannery people, those who work on leather made out of the dead skin of the animal. And as soon as both the saintly person and the king enter that gully, so the king immediately blocks his nose and says, my God, such horrible stink is here, I cannot stay here for even a moment. Let's go quickly out of this place. So then saintly person immediately say, oh, why are you saying like that? Just see here, the wife of that person, she's staying very peacefully and she is nicely cooking for her family. And just look at those kids, they are playing in and out of the house around those the skins which are kept for drying, and they are not feeling any kind of stink. So why are you thinking like that? And then he sees around and he really understands, oh yes, they are saying. So then a saintly person says, just like you are feeling stink here, even I felt similar kind of stink of goodness in your palace. So even that stink I don't want. Obviously it is just an expression of story. In coming verses we will see that one who has transcended the modes, how he is. So, but the point what we want to discuss is that every different type of people have got different type of place to stay, and they are in one sense attached to that place due to the presence or prominence of that particular type of mode. Another thing which I remember was that when I think Saraswati Thakur, he went to Burma for preaching, and he was cooking some feast in ghee. He was making halwa. So the people around, they came and complained that they are doing something such ghastly thing, that smell is coming, bad smell is coming. So for them the smell of the ghee was intolerable. So we can only imagine in which kind of mode they were, that they were not able to tolerate the smell of the ghee. So like that, here it is mentioned that one who is in mode of goodness, he attains the higher planets. And as Prabhupada is mentioning, that different kinds of planets are there for different kinds of living entities. And those who die in goodness are elevated to the planets where great sages and great devotees live. Okay, so let's go to the next verse. Rajasi pralayam gatva.
Rajasi pralayam gatva.
Karma sangishu jayate.
Karma sangishu
jayate.
Tatha pralinas tamasi.
Tatha pralinas tamasi.
Muda yonishu jayate.
Muda yonishu jayate.
Translation, please.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. When one dies in the mode of passion, he takes birth among those engaged in the fruitive activities. And when one dies in the mode of ignorance, he takes birth in the animal kingdom.
So here Krishna is answering both the modes in one verse only. So what happens to one who dies in mode of passion? So he is engaged in fruitive activities. Karma sangishu jayate. He takes birth among those who are karma sangishu, means those who are attached to fruitive activities, so attached to performing work. And then tatha pralinas tamasi, one who gives up the body with prominence of tamas or ignorance. Mudha yonishu jayate. So animal kingdom here is referred to as mood yoni, that is below human level. One who goes below that, he is entered into the mood yoni. Yeah. So Srila Prabhupada has very wonderfully spoken, written a very nice purport to this particular verse. So here Prabhupada says, some people have the impression that when the soul reaches the platform of human life, it never goes down again. So there are people, or we can say one sect of people, who have this understanding that when the soul is in human body, he will always take birth in human body. And the soul is in animal body, he will always take birth in animal body. But this particular verse refutes this idea. They give the example of seed. If you sow a mango seed, what kind of plant you are going to get? Mango plant. And what kind of fruits you are going to get? Mango fruits. So you cannot expect that if you sow a mango, you will get chiku. No, that will never happen. That is what they give the example to prove their theory that when you get a human form, you will always get a human form. But Krishna is saying something different here. So that example may be there, everything is maybe appealing, but the real fact is something different. So that we can understand only when we take the knowledge from Krishna, the supreme authority, and that too in parampara. So here it is very clearly explained that if somebody dies in particular mode, then either he may go to higher planets, or he may take birth in the earthly planet again, or he may go into the lower species of life. So this is very, very clearly explained here. Yes. So now let's read some part of the purport.
Should I continue, Prabhuji, in the purport?
This one you can read, which is displayed on the screen.
Therefore, those who are actually serious about human life should take to the mode of goodness, and in good association transcend the modes and become situated in the Krishna consciousness. This is the aim of human life. Otherwise, there is no guarantee that human being will again attain to the human status.
So here we can understand that theory which they put up is absolutely wrong and bogus, whereas we know from the scriptures and the authority of Krishna that it is rare to achieve this human form of life. Just like Prahlad Maharaj also says, Kaumaram acharet pragyo dharman bhagavatan iha durlabam manusham janma tadapi adruvam arthadam. And he's saying that when one gets a human form of life, he should take to the Bhagavad Dharma since the age of 5. Kaumaram acharet. Why? Durlabam manusham janma. Because this manushya janma is durlabha. It is very rare to achieve the human form of life. And tadapi adruvam arthadam. And although this is so rare, yet it is extremely short. It's not that when you get it, you can stay in the human form of life for the rest of your life. No, it's very short. Now one may say that, okay, Kali Yuga life is short, but what about Satya Yuga life? So in that connection, we can know the story of Lomas Rishi. So Lomas Rishi, he has a life. If one hair falls from his body, when one Brahma lives his entire life, then one hair from his body will fall. And when all the hairs from his body fall, then his life will get over. That is his lifespan. So we can just imagine the life of Brahma itself is so huge. You all must have studied that in the 8th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. So that is so huge. And that is just nothing but one hair falling from his body. And when he was asked that, why don't you build one kutir for you? He said, oh my God, this life, human life is so small. I cannot waste my time in building a kutir. So he has such a big lifespan, but he's saying that life is so short. So what to talk of even the life of Satya Yuga? That is also very short, according to this understanding. So tadapi adruvam arthadam. Yet one good thing is, although this is so short, this life of human form, yet it is very, very meaningful. Why it is meaningful? Because in this life, or in this human form of life, you can learn to transcend the modes and go back to Godhead. So that is what is the lesson. So this is the aim of human life, as Srila Prabhupada is saying. Otherwise, there is no guarantee. Yeah. So next, Krishna will tell us the results of modes, various results of each mode. Karmana sukrutasyahu.
Karmana sukrutasyahu.
Satvikam nirmalam phalam.
Satvikam nirmalam phalam.
Rajasastu phalam dukkham.
Rajasastu phalam dukkham.
Ajnanam tamasah phalam.
Ajnanam tamasah phalam.
Please.
Translation. The result of pious actions is pure and is said to be in the mode of goodness. But actions done in the mode of passion results in misery. And actions performed in the mode of ignorance results in foolishness. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. So here Srila Prabhupada explains that how result of pious activities in mode of goodness is very pure. Sages who are free from all illusion are situated in happiness, whereas activities in passion are simply miserable. And Srila Prabhupada gives the example of a person who wants to build a big skyscraper. So much energy is misutilized, Prabhupada says. That then the financer has to take the trouble to earn the money, and those who are working hard, they have to work hard, physical labor they have to give, and there are so many miseries in that. So just like we are also in the process of constructing one small center for the pleasure of Srila Prabhupada. So we are also observing the similar thing, that there is so much of hard work going on there. But obviously, the intent of our constructing this particular center is completely different than what a general conditioned soul wants to do. He always wants to do everything for his own sense gratification. But what I'm trying to say is, yes, there is a lot of labor involved in that. A lot of misery is there. And those of you who might have got the experience of building some home or something on your own, so you also might have got this experience. In Marathi, there is a saying where they say that ghar bagawa bandhun, means if you really want to know what is there, so much of hard endeavor, you just try to see that by constructing a house for yourself. So like that, passionate activity. So that is there, and then there is misery out of that actually. So the person who had come today to install the generator, so he was telling us that I am doing this for so many years and all, and fortunately I was quite close to your place, so I immediately agreed the next call of coming to your place. Otherwise, to come all the way from my home to your place, it's so tiresome, it's so boring. So he was expressing his misery in his own work. So that is how this passionate activity simply leads to misery, because the purpose behind that is sense gratification, and many a times the sense gratification is not fulfilled based on the expectation of the conditioned soul. He has so many expectations, he has n number of expectations, and out of that only one or two are fulfilled, and that causes bigger misery than the physical misery actually. So that is what the misery is there in this mode of passion, and there is no actual happiness in that. And then Srila Prabhupada continues to explain about activity of mode of ignorance. So somebody can read the second paragraph as far as.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. As far as the mode of ignorance is concerned, the performer is without knowledge, and therefore all his activities results in present misery, and afterwards he will go on towards animal life. Animal life is always miserable, although under the spell of illusionary energy, Maya, the animals do not understand this.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So here we can see Srila Prabhupada is mentioning that animal life is always miserable. So we know that story of that how Indra, he got a curse to become a pig, and then he became a pig, and he was there with his she pig and his piglets, and he got so much engrossed in that particular life that completely forgot what is his real position. So that is how Prabhupada is mentioning is that Maya, under the spell of the illusionary Maya, the animals do not understand this, that they are actually in a miserable condition. Now, when we walk on the street, if we happen to see a pig in a stream of gutter drinking the juice and trying to enjoy that, we feel pity on that particular pig. But that pig is completely in a state of bliss, on a material level, that he is getting to enjoy this nice stream of gutter which is coming out of the anyways, it's unmentionable. But then he is enjoying that. So this is how we can see the mode of ignorance bounds the person, or Maya puts that spell and makes him feel that he is very happy, but ideally speaking, we see from the higher perspective that all this animal kingdom, they are pathetically bound in this ignorance, and they are unaware about it completely. And in the further part of the purport, Srila Prabhupada goes on very heavily to explain that how even the animal slaughter is the activity in mode of ignorance. Then Prabhupada says that the animal slaughtering poor animals is also due to mode of ignorance. Animal killers do not know that in the future the animal will have the body suitable to kill them. That is a nature's law. And we have seen in the book Laws of Nature, Srila Prabhupada has given that very nice painting wherein that person is trying to kill a cow and their faces are interchanged to give the reader the understanding that when you kill somebody, then there will be a time when that somebody will also kill you. And we see even in our Vedic scriptures, those who are very much wanting to have this, killing of animal and eat their meat, they are told to perform specific rituals, wherein at a particular time they are allowed to offer that to goddess Kali or somebody like that, with chanting some mantras in the ear of the animal. Mamsa is that now I am killing you, and in next life you can kill me and eat me. So in that way, then the person who does that regularly on Amavasya, on the no moon day, and then at one fine day there may be some awakening in his heart that, oh my God, what am I saying? I am saying that I will eat you now, and in future you will eat me. This is so ghastly. And then he may slowly rise, by taking some knowledge from local brahmanas or somebody like that. But the point is that this Prabhupada is mentioning about this animal slaughter being completely in mode of ignorance. But it's not that one can escape. And Prabhupada gives the example of that how there is a state law that if you kill a person, then you will reap the, you will have to, you are a criminal and you will have to pay the price. Similarly, for Krishna, every living entity is his creature, is his son, or we can say a child. And even killing an ant, Srila Prabhupada says, is not tolerated by Krishna. And one has to pay the price. And then further ahead, Prabhupada mentions that although God has supplied so many nice things, the person in mode of ignorance wants to eat the meat. And then further, Prabhupada says, of all kinds of meat eating, cow killing is the grossest type of ignorance, most vicious. Why? Because actually cow is giving such a wonderful food in the form of milk. And in that sense, killing the cow is the grossest type of ignorance. And Prabhupada mentions Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmanitaya, that how Krishna is actually the person who wants to see that cows and brahmanas are flourished in the society, and he offers special protection to both of them. Cow because she gives this nice food in the form of milk, and brahmanas because they are the symbol of spiritual education. So that is what Srila Prabhupada says. Finally, in the last part of the purport, somebody can read this, which is there in the slide.
Yeah. A civilization which guides the citizens to become animals in their next life is certainly not a human civilization. The present human civilization is, of course, grossly misled by the modes of passion and ignorance. It is a very dangerous age, and all nations should take care to provide the easiest process, Krishna consciousness, to save humanity from greatest danger.
So we can see here, this is the mood of Srila Prabhupada, wherein he is mentioning that the present humanity is grossly misled by passion and ignorance. And all nations should take care to provide the easiest process. And that's why when Srila Prabhupada was in America in the beginning days, he challenged the government that you just give me a place to perform kirtan and provide me finance to give them food, and you will see complete transformation in the society, and all people will start living happily. Obviously government did not never accepted that proposal, but that is a fact. If even that thing is done today, and we see in many parts of the world, uh, people taking shelter of this process and feeling so much warmth in this, although the society is going in a completely different direction. And this we can very clearly see in the current war going on between Ukraine and Russia. Obviously there is so much of unnecessary killing happening over there, but at the same time we can see those who have seriously taken shelter of the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, internally from their own heart they are very much feeling a kind of gratefulness and safety. Although externally certainly there are so many difficulties which even devotees are undergoing, but from the core of their heart they have that feeling of security because of mercy of Srila Prabhupada. So when the civilization is grossly misled, then obviously all the people will suffer. But as Srila Prabhupada is mentioning that all nations should take this care of spreading this Krishna consciousness, which will bring the people to the platform of mode of goodness and further help them to transcend that. Yes. So now let's see what what are the effects of this thing. Satvat sanjayate jnanam,
Sattvat sanjayate jnanam,
rajaso lobha eva cha,
rajaso lobha eva cha,
pramada mohau tamaso,
pramadam tamaso,
bhavato jnanameva cha.
bhavato jnanameva cha.
Translation. Translation.
Somebody want to take next, or can I go ahead first?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Yeah.
Yep.
Translation. From the mode of goodness, real knowledge dwells. From the modes of passion, greed dwells, and from the mode of ignorance dwells foolishness, madness, and illusion. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
So this is how mode of passion will give rise to real knowledge, and we saw the effect of that real knowledge is that one will see things as they are, and all his dvareshu, sarva dvareshu will be illuminated by that knowledge. So from mode of passion, mode of goodness, real knowledge will develop. So this is also very much interesting for us to understand that where we want to situate ourselves. Because if somebody is situated in mode of passion, then what develops is greed, and mode of ignorance develops nothing but the foolishness, madness, and illusion. Please just hold for a moment. I need to attend this call. I'm sorry. Just I was mentioning that this construction site is going on, so I had got a call from there only. Yeah. So here we can see that from mode of goodness, knowledge will develop. From under mode of passion, greed will develop. So greed is what? What is this greed? Can anyone say?
Material satisfaction.
Material satisfaction is greed.
Aiming for what is more than
Hankering
required.
for more.
Ah, yes. Wanting more than required is considered as greed. Okay, very good. And what causes greed?
Desire.
Sorry?
Desire, one's own desire of having more and more, or when you
Desire.
compare to somebody.
Okay,
Com-
very good. That
compare
is very nice. So we should understand this, that the things in this world don't cause the desire, greed, but the desire of the living entity causes the greed for a particular thing. Because we see that in front of the child there may be many things, but he is not allured by anything. He is simply wanting food, or he wants his mother. That's it. But the other person may see some different things, and he may develop greed to have that. So the point is that when the presence of mode of passion is prominent, then the desire to have something more than necessary will be there. So this is how we can analyze everything in our life. And what is this? Pramada moho tamaso. In mode of ignorance, what develops is foolishness, madness, and illusion. So if the mode of ignorance is prominent, then all these things will be there in a prominence like that. So that's why here Krishna is just giving the summary of how everything is in what all things are developed in what kind of mode. And then finally, in the next verse, Krishna concludes his talk on this topic of the effects of modes. So a very famous verse. Many of you must have known this. Urdhvam gacchanti sattvastha.
Urdhvam gacchanti sattvastha.
Madhye tishtanti rajasa.
Madhye
Madhye tishtanti rajasaha.
Jaganya guna vrittistha.
Jaganya
Jagannyagunavrittistha.
Adho gacchanti tamasaha.
Adho
Gacchanti tamasaha.
Translation.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Translation. Those situated in the mode of goodness gradually go upward to the higher planets. Those in the mode of passion live on the earthly planet, and those in the abominable mode of ignorance go down to the hellish world. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yeah. So here we can see that Krishna is talking about three directions. That one who is sattva. This is also already spoken by Krishna previously in two separate verses. Again, Krishna is summarizing everything in this one particular verse, and he is finally giving the three directions. That if you are situated in mode of goodness, then you will go to urdhvam, that is, you will go on an upper side, or higher planets. If you are in mode of passion, you will remain in the same strata, in earthly planet. And if you are in mode of ignorance, then you will go on downward, in the hellish worlds, or in the mood ayonishu, as previously mentioned, animal kingdom. So this is how all these three directions are mentioned by Krishna. So let's read the purport. It's a very nice purport by Srila Prabhupada. Can somebody read it?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yeah.
In this verse, The results of actions in the three modes of nature are more explicitly set forth. There is an upper planetary system consisting of the heavenly planets, where everyone is highly elevated. According to the degree of development of the mode of goodness, the living entity can be transferred to various planets in the system. The highest planet is Satyaloka or Brahmaloka, where the prime person of this universe, Lord Brahma, resides. We have seen already that we can hardly calculate the wondrous condition of life in Brahmaloka. But the highest condition of life, the mode of goodness, can bring us to this. The mode
Okay,
of
thank you. Just hold on. So here we see what is the effect of cultivating mode of goodness and what are the results of that. Now, Prabhupada will talk about the mode of passion. Yes, please go ahead.
The mode of passion is mixed. It is in the middle between the modes of goodness and ignorance. A person is not always pure, but even if he should be purely in the mode of passion, he will simply remain on this earth as a king or a rich man. But because there are mixtures, one can also go down. People on this earth in the mode of passion or ignorance cannot forcefully approach the higher planets by machine. In the mode of passion, there is also the chance of becoming mad in the next life.
Okay, hold on. So here Prabhupada is bringing out very wonderful point, two important points, that it's not that mode of passion is always there, in its pure form. And even if it is there, then he will again have to take birth as rich man or king, something like that, where there is some opulence. At the same time, one has to work hard as a characteristic of mode of passion. So this is what is there, first point. And second thing is Prabhupada is mentioning that because it is always mixed, mode of passion is mixed, it's not pure. So there is a chance of going down also. So one should learn to transcend from mode of passion to goodness. One should go on a higher level, not go on a lower level. So that fear is always there, and the passionate people, they are always wanting to compete with the system which Lord has designed. So Lord has designed that if you die in goodness, then you go to higher planets. But passionate people, they want to go to the higher planets without becoming, without coming to the mode of goodness. And we see the example of Ravana. He wanted to make a staircase directly to heaven without means anyone can go who wants to go. Obviously he was not successful. Or even Trishanku, he wanted to go to the Swarga in his self same body, but that was not the right way to go, so he was not allowed. And Prabhupada here is mentioning that by the way of machine, one cannot forcibly approach the higher planets by machine. So in modern day context, we can see that people are trying to go to the moon, and actually that is not possible, to go to the moon by a mechanical way. So this is how we can see that the mode of passion is actually binding one to this particular earthly planet only. Yes, now we can go to the next paragraph.
The lowest quality, the mode of ignorance, is described here as abominable. The result of developing ignorance is very, very risky. It is the lowest quality in material nature. Beneath the human level, there are 8 million species of life: birds, beasts, reptiles, trees, etc. And according to the development of the mode of ignorance, people are brought down to these abominable conditions. The word tamasaha is very significant here. Tamasaha indicates those who stay continuously in the mode of ignorance without rising to a higher mode. The future is very dark. There is an opportunity for men in the mode of ignorance and passion.
This last paragraph, which we are now going to read, is nothing but the link between this verse and the next verse. Please read.
There is an opportunity for men in the good modes of ignorance and passion to be elevated to the mode of goodness. And that system is called Krishna consciousness. But one who does not take advantage of this opportunity will certainly continue in the lower modes. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. So here we complete the second section, that is the effect of conditioning of modes. And now we are entering into the last section of this particular chapter, 19 to 27, Transcending the Modes. So as we just now read, the last paragraph of this 18th verse, that one should learn to transcend this. So that is what now Krishna is going to say to Arjuna, that I told you there are three directions for somebody who is in goodness, passion, or ignorance, but there is fourth dimension also. And what is that? So that we'll discuss. But before that, I just want to have a small break of if somebody has any questions on this particular section.
Prabhuji, the mode of passion, in mode of passion, people who are on earth are, everybody is in the mode of passion only, Prabhuji, who take birth on earth.
See, the prominence is like that, because they were prominently in passion in previously, so they have taken birth. But again, we have to see after taking birth, what are their activities. So based on that also we can understand that probably the prominence of their life previously would have been goodness. But while dying, their prominence was passion. So as we discussed previously also, Krishna is mentioning that not that one mode is there always. The competition is going on between the modes, who will be winning over, and which mode wins over, that condition remains to that particular living entity. So at the time of death, whichever mode is prominent, that type of thing may happen. And obviously we also know that the mode in which the person was there for most part of his life would naturally be more prominent at the time of his death. So that way we can understand this.
Okay, sure.
Any other question? Fine. So then we'll shift to the new section, last section of this chapter, 19 to 27, Transcending the Modes. Nanyam gunebhya kartaram
Nanyam gunebhya kartaram
yada drashtanupashyati
Yada
anupashyati
gunebhyascha param veti
gunebhyascha
param veti
madbhavam sodhikachati.
madbhavam sodhikachati.
Translation. Yes, somebody can read the translation.
Yeah. When one properly sees that in all activities no other performer is at work than these modes of nature, and he knows the Supreme Lord, who is transcendental to all these modes, he attains my spiritual nature.
So now Krishna is telling that Nayam gunebhya kartaram, that he knows who is the performer in all activities. Who is the performer? He knows very well. Other than, no, it's not nobody other than modes of nature. Gunebhya. Yada drashtanu pashyati. One who is able to see this. Anupashyati. The word anupashyati is very important. Drashta means to see, and anupashyati means drashta means the seer, and anupashyati means one who sees. But how he sees? Anupashyati means according to what he has heard from the authorities. When he sees things in that way, gunebhyascha param veti, and he knows that I am beyond the modes. Gunebhyascha param veti. I means now here Krishna is telling about himself, that Krishna is beyond modes. Mad bhavam sodigachati, and he also attains my nature, means he also is able to transcend the modes. So Srila Prabhupada speaks very wonderful in the purport. Please read this, which is displayed on the screen.
By the instructions of a bona fide spiritual master, a living entity can know of his spiritual position, his material body, his senses, how he is entrapped, and how he is under the spell of the material mode of nature.
So when we are very attentive to the instructions of our spiritual master, or when we are attentively hearing his Vani, then we can know from that what is our spiritual position, about the material body, senses, how they are acting, how mind is acting, and how mind is making us conditioned more and more, how we are getting entrapped, and how we are under the spell of material modes. So all these things gives they are revealed to us, so by the mercy of spiritual master. And here Krishna is none other than the supreme spiritual master. He is also telling the same thing in the Bhagavad Gita. But sometimes it happens that we are not able to understand the words of Krishna directly. But spiritual master is so merciful that he makes us understand in a way where we can understand. Going down to our level, he gives us the knowledge, thereby we can understand. So that is anupashyati, drashta anupashyati, that we should be able to see through the eyes given by our spiritual master. That's why we always, I previously also mentioned this, ajnana timirandasya jnananjana shalakaya. The spiritual master gives us that gyan, or he puts that ointment of gyan in our eyes, because of which we are able to see the world as it is. So as we mentioned, that one of the effect of goodness is that you can see the things as they are. So that is awarded by the spiritual master to us. And then further, Prabhupada says in the further down in the purport. Yes, read this.
Yeah, actually, the living entity is not the performer of different activities. He is forced to act because he is situated in a particular type of body conducted by some particular mode of material nature. Unless one has the help of spiritual authority, he cannot understand in what position he is actually situated.
So this is the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, that he has taken so much of pains to write these purports, only to make us understand this, that how in this material world we are entrapped by the modes, and we are entrapped in the body. And even somebody reads Bhagavad Gita sincerely, he will get all the necessary, he will be equipped with necessary knowledge to be able to transcend the material world. That is the potency of Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita. So here Srila Prabhupada is mentioning that all these things can be understood only by the help of spiritual authority. And in the final part of the purport, Prabhupada says, for one who is able to see things as they are, the influence of material nature gradually ceases. A man in Krishna consciousness is not controlled by the spell of material modes of nature. So when will that happen? When will we be able to see things as they are? Only when we are surrendered to Krishna, as already explained in the 7th chapter. Srila Prabhupada says that in the end part of the purport. So when we talk about this, about transcending, it is not going to happen in one day, and it will be a very gradual process, as we saw in the purport of 13.22, that it's a gradual process. So we can see that how we will be able to transcend. So there are some levels through which we go in the ladder to be able to actually transcend. So first level is unconsciously incompetent. Means what? If we take the example of driving, I think you might have heard this, but we'll just repeat this because it's very relevant in this particular context. So if we are initial part, when somebody doesn't know driving, so he is not aware, he is unconscious, and he's incompetent also. So then later on, what happens? That he takes some lessons on driving, and then he comes to the stage of consciously incompetent. Means now he knows that where is the clutch, where is the brake, where is the accelerator, where are the gears, when to put the gears, how to release the first gear, and all this thing he knows. He's conscious about that. He got the knowledge, but still he is incompetent. He is not yet fully competent about those things. And then there is the next stage of consciously competent. So he reaches this stage wherein he understands that now where is the clutch, where is the brake, and he is conscious about things that now I have to press the brake, now I have to do like this, like that, so he is conscious about things, and he is a little bit confident also. But then the last stage is when the person is unconsciously competent. Means while driving, that driving becomes his second nature. Just like when we are eating, we don't worry whether the hand is going to the mouth or not. It automatically goes. Similarly, the person reaches to this stage where he is completely unconscious about his competence of driving. So these are the levels we can see that initially we are completely ignorant about everything, and then we get some knowledge, yet still there is passionate activities going on. We know that we are not doing rightly, we are falling apart somewhere, and then eventually the passion reduces, and then finally we are situated in goodness. So in other way, we can also see that whenever initial days, before coming to Krishna consciousness, before getting any knowledge, we were not aware about what is right, what is wrong, and we were doing everything, whatever our mind was dictating. But when we came to Krishna consciousness, we learned certain things, and then we become conscious. Oh, I should not do this, I should do this. But because the passion is so strong, the driving force is so strong, and we are incompetent, we fall prey to some activities which are forbidden. But then again, we are repentant about that. We are praying to the Lord. We are seeking guidance from our spiritual guidance from our authorities. And then finally, gradually, we become consciously competent. Then we are aware, oh no, I should not go to this place because that place will make me attract to those particular food items and I may eat a lot of things. Or I should not associate with this type of people because they may agitate my anger, or somebody may say they may agitate my lust. So all these things, then person becomes conscious, and he is handling things. Okay, I should not do this, I should be here. Or in other way we can say that anukulyasya sankalpa pratikulyasya varjanam is the stage where person is consciously competent. He is accepting those favorable things and rejecting the unfavorable things. And the last stage is unconsciously competent. So wherever he is, then he doesn't matter. Modes are not actually. This is not even goodness. It is beyond. So this ignorance, passion, and all this, and this is I have put it based on my thought process. So please ignore that part. So unconsciously competent, we can even consider it as transcendental, where the person is completely gone beyond the modes. He is not bothered. Whichever place he may be, he is not affected by the modes. So that is the situation. So that's why we should not be discouraged when there may be some pitfalls in our life, and when we are reading this and getting the knowledge about the modes, we may think, "Arey, I am always passionate," or "I am always passionate or ignorant. I am hardly in the goodness." Yes, but at least are we aware what is good and what is not good? Are we striving to always do the right thing? Are we seeking guidance from our superiors? Are we hearing regularly from our spiritual master? Are we hearing from Srila Prabhupada? So then all these things combined together, put together, will help us go ahead. And then it will finally bring us to the stage, first to the consciously competent and finally to the unconsciously competent. Yeah. So this is what it is. So let's go to the next verse. Gunan etan atityatrin.
Gunanetan atityatrin.
Dehi deha samudbhavam.
Dehi deha samudbhavan.
Janma mrityu jara dukkhair.
Janma
Vimukto amrutamashvate.
Vimukto
Translation, please.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhu.
When the embodied being is able to transcend these three modes associated with the material body, he can become free from birth, death, old age, and their distresses, and can enjoy nectar even in this life. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. So, do you remember any kind of verse similar to this? In last chapter we discussed. In the section wherein Krishna tells what is knowledge, there was one verse, Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi Dukkha Doshanu Darshanam, wherein Krishna says that one should be able to see that Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi is actually dukkha, great misery. So when one is able to see that, then one can be considered to be in knowledge. And here also Krishna is saying something similar, but in a not something similar, but the words are similar, but the meaning is little different. That when embodied being is transcend, he is able to transcend, then he can become free from birth, death, old age, and their distresses. So he will be freed from Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi and the distresses arising from that. And then he can enjoy the nectar even in this life. So this is a very, very important thing. So many times we see that there is so much of misery and struggle. But here Krishna is saying that even in this life, one can be able to enjoy the nectar. So please read the purport of Srila Prabhupada, very, very, very beautiful purport.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes,
How-
please go.
Sorry, I was mute actually. I was reading in mute. Shall I continue?
Please.
Yeah. How one can stay in the transcendental position even in this body in full Krishna consciousness is explained in this verse. The Sanskrit word Dehi means embodied. Although one is within this material body, by his advancement in spiritual knowledge, he can be free from the influence of the modes of nature. He can enjoy the happiness of a spiritual life even in this body, because after leaving this body, he can certainly going to the spiritual sky. But even in this body, he can enjoy spiritual happiness. In other words, devotional service in Krishna consciousness is the sign of liberation from material entanglement. And this will be explained in the 18th chapter. When one is freed from the influence of the modes of material nature, he enters into devotional service.
Thank you. So we can see, I just put one last part of this purport, that in other words, devotional service in Krishna consciousness is the sign of liberation from material entanglement. And this will be explained in the 18th chapter. When one is freed from the influence of modes of material nature, he enters into devotional service. So, even while being in this body, we can transcend the modes and then become freed from the distress of Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi. So as soon as this thing was explained, Arjuna got a doubt in his mind. He's saying, Acha, is it like that? But then what are the symptoms of that type of person who has already transcended? So he asked these questions. Arjuna uvacha Kairlingai strin gunan etan
Kairlingais trin gunan etan
Atito bhavati prabho
atito bhavati prabho
Kim achara katham chaitams
kim acharya katham chaitan
Strin gunan ativartate.
trin gunan ativartate.
Vartate.
Translation.
Hare Krishna. Arjuna inquired, "O my dear Lord, by which symptoms is one is known who is transcendental to these three modes? What is his behavior and how does he transcend the modes of nature?"
A relevant question, isn't it? We are also hearing this. We also want to know, what kind of person? How is he? So very beautiful question Arjuna has put at the very right moment, and that is going to help us to understand. What are the symptoms of such a person who is actually transcendental to these three modes. Just before continuing, I would like to mention that because we have missed the class on Friday, so we are taking a little bit overtime today, tomorrow, today to Wednesday and Friday. So I hope everyone is okay with that.
Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah.
Yes, Prabhu, actually we had 2 hours class earlier.
Yeah. So, so here Arjuna is asking now that what are the symptoms? Lingais. That means what are his internally, how he is, internal symptoms. How does it take things? And then the next question is Kim Acharaha. What is his behavior to the situations in this life? And Etan Strin Gunan Kathan Ativartate. How does it transcend the three modes? So very beautiful questions asked by Arjuna. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says, please read this in the screen.
How can one understand that he is already transcendent the influence of the modes of material nature? The second question asked.
This is the question of Arjuna. Go ahead.
Can I read one more time, Prabhuji?
Yes.
How can one understand that he is already transcendent the influence of modes of material nature? The second question asks how he lives and what his activities are. Are they regulated or non-regulated? Then Arjuna inquires of the means by which he can attain the transcendental nature. That is very important. Unless one knows the direct means by which one can be situated always transcendentally, there is no possibility of showing the symptoms. So all these questions put by Arjuna are very important and the Lord answers them. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. So now the next verses from 22 to 27, Krishna will answer all these things. So let's go 2 verses at a time. So we'll now read verse 22 and 23 first. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha
Shri Bhagavan
Prakasham cha pravrittim cha Mohameva cha Pandava Na dveshti sampravruttani
Na
nivruttani kankshati Udasina vadasino Gunairyo na vichalyate Guna vartanta ityevam Yovatishtati nengate. Translation, please.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Can I read?
Yes.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, O son of Pandu, he who does not hate illumination, attachment, and delusion when they are present, or long for them when they disappear, who is unwavering and undisturbed through all these reactions of material qualities, neutral and transcendental, knowing that the modes alone are active.
Yes. So, Arjuna's first question was Kair Lingais, that what are the symptoms? And in answer, Krishna speaks in this verse number 22, Na dveshti sampravruttani, na nivruttani kankshati. That what are the symptoms? How does he see things? That first of all, prakasham cha pravrittim cha moham. So what is prakasham is goodness. So I'll just go back to that verse. Sorry, here. Prakasham is mode of goodness, pravrittim is mode of passion, and moham is mode of ignorance. So Krishna is telling in prakasham pravrittim moha na dveshti sampravruttani. He is not envious of what? Means he is neither envious of these modes. He is neither envious of, he does not hate illumination, attachment, and delusion when they are present. Means sometimes what happens as progressing devotees, we see that these modes of material nature, we understand that they are the troubling cause. And when they suddenly come, then we say, oh, what is this nonsense? Why this has happened to me? You know. So we become angry upon that mode or that particular situation. We become angry upon ourselves sometimes. But here he is saying that the person who has transcended, na dveshti sampravruttani. He is not hating. He is not too much dvesh. He is not envious. Although that particular mode has developed. Or na nivruttani kankshati. Means if at all that mode has gone, that the force of that mode has gone, he doesn't desire that, oh, let it come again, like that. So that doesn't happen with the person who has transcended the modes. So this is what is mentioned here, Kair Lingais, na dveshti sampravruttani, na nivruttani kankshati. And in the purport, Prabhupada says that on the embodied soul, the modes will always act. The modes will always act on the embodied soul. Whereas when who has come out of the body, then he is out of the clutches of modes. Out of the body means one who has transcended, gone back home, back to body. So he is also out of the clutches of the modes. And then Prabhupada says, but as long as he is not out of the material body, he should be neutral. He should engage himself in devotional service of the Lord so that his identity with the material body will be automatically forgotten. So this is the key, that one should be neutral, because now we are in this situation. We are embodied soul, so that means mode will act. We are still not out of the body, that means mode will act. Then what we should do? We should be neutral. And how can we be neutral? If we are always engaged in the devotional service, or if there is a thought that all these things what I am doing is for the pleasure of the Lord, then the situation, then the identity with the material body will be forgotten. So this is a very, very important thing. When there is bodily consciousness, automatically the person will engage in sense gratification. Prabhupada says in the purport, I am just summarizing this purport. And when one comes to Krishna consciousness, then automatically his sense gratification stops. So this is how Krishna answers Kair Lingais, that he is not dveshti, and then he becomes neutral towards the influence of the modes. And the next two verses, Krishna will answer Kim Acharah, what are his activities? So yes, Samadukha Sukha Swastha,
Samadukha Sukha Swastha,
Samaloshtasma Kanchana,
Samaloshtasma Kanchana,
Tulya Priya Priyodhiras,
Tulya Priya Priyo Dhiras,
Tulya Nindatma Samstutihi. Anapamanayos Tulyo Maitrari Pakshayo. Sarvaramba Parityagi. Gunatita Sa Uchyate. Translation.
Who is
This is the
situated,
continuation. Yeah, please.
who is situated in the self and regards alike happiness and distress, who looks upon a lump of earth, a stone and a piece of gold with an equal eye, who is equal towards the desirable and the undesirable, who is steady, situated equally well in praise and blame, honor and dishonor, who treats alike both friend and enemy, and who has renounced all material activities. Such a person is said to have transcendented the modes of nature.
Transcended. Yeah. So here the Queen Achara is answered. And how his behavior. Samadukha Sukha Swastha. In both situations of happiness and distress. He is Sama. That means he is neutral. Samaloštashma Kanchanaha. And he is also equal to the lump of earth, a stone, or a piece of gold. So he is not feeling so much of attraction if he finds, oh, here is gold, so let me utilize in my sense gratification. No, because he has lost all that sense of sense gratification. Because he is out of bodily consciousness. And this is a very wonderful thing. Tulya Priya Apriyo Dhiras. He is equal towards the desirable and undesirable. And Tulya Ninda to Samstutihi. So when sometimes there is Ninda, sometimes there is Stuti. Means sometimes somebody condemns or criticizes, sometimes somebody praises. So in all these situations, he is Tulya. So it's if we see, analyze all these things, at least when I see this in my life, I found it so difficult, because when somebody does stuti, oh, I feel so nice. Oh, very nice. Now he has very well understood, my glory. But somebody does ninda, then immediately that feeling comes within the heart. Oh my God, why is speaking all this about me? I'm not so bad. But then mana apamanayos tulyas. Sometimes there is honor and sometimes there is dishonor. So, but a transcendental person is tulya, situated equally in that. We see Krishna speaking in to Arjuna that one who has accepted honor, for him dishonor is worse than death. But that is not the situation of person who is transcendental. And tulya maitrari pakshayoho. He treats equally both what his friend mitra, and those means there are no enemies to this person, but those people who think this person to be enemy, still to them also this person is equal minded. And sarvarama parityagi, he doesn't want to do any kind of material endeavors. Gunatita sa uchyate, such a person is known to be transcendental. So Srila Prabhupada has explained these two things only, that the first question and the second question in this particular purport. So then we will now finally go to last two verses. So now in the next verse, that is verse number 26, Krishna will answer the question of Arjuna, which he has asked, that how he can transcend. So very, very famous verse from the 14th chapter, 26th verse. Mam chayo vyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate
Yena sevate
Sagunan samatityaitan Brahma bhuyaya kalpate. Translation.
One who engages in full devotional service, unfailing in all circumstances, at once transcends the modes of material nature and thus comes to the level of Brahman.
So, one may question by performing this avabhicharana means unfailing devotional service. Why is it that one is transcended the modes of material nature and he comes to the level of Brahman? What is this? So, what is the answer for that? That this section from 13 to 18 is for primarily which kind of personalities? For Gyanis. This section is Jnana section. So Gyanis are always wanting to go to Brahman. So that's why Krishna is attracting them that if you want to really go to Brahman, then the best method is that you perform Bhakti Yoga. How? Avabhicharena. Without any unfailing, without any fail, perform Bhakti Yoga. So even Jnanis, they have to perform Bhakti Yoga for attaining Brahman. That is also yet another understanding. Actually, it is very, very clearly mentioned by our acharyas that even a Karma Yogi, he gets success in his Karma Yoga, or a Ashtanga Yogi, Dhyana Yogi, he gets success in his Dhyana Yoga, or a Jnana Yogi, he gets a success in his Jnana only when there is some performance of Bhakti in their practice. That gives them the perfection of that particular activity, not the activity what they are performing, or they are thinking that this activity is going to give me success, but actually the little bit limbs of bhakti which are involved in their activity gives them the success in that particular way, and gives them the feeling that they are successful in their jnana, karma, or dhyan. So that is the thing. So that's why the word here mentioned is Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpate. But we understand, as Krishna will also mention in the next verse, that Brahmanoi Pratisthaham, that I am the basis of Brahman. So here in this purport, Srila Prabhupada mentions that how one should be, if one really doesn't want to get disturbed by the activities of modes of nature, so instead of putting his consciousness into such activities, he may transfer his consciousness to Krishna activities. And Krishna activities is nothing but the Bhakti Yoga unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, Rama, Narayan, Narasimha, etc. Like that. So, and Prabhupada further down mentions in the middle part of the purport that already it is explained in 7th chapter that one who surrenders to Krishna at once surmounts the influence of modes of natural nature. What is that verse? Anybody knows? In the 7th chapter, very famous verse. Daiviyesha gunamayi mama maya duratyaya mam evaya prapadyante mayan etan tarantute. That the Daiviyesha gunamayi, this maya is gunamayi, made of 3 modes, but one takes shelter of me, then he can transcend this Maya Shakti. So that already Krishna has mentioned, and it's just a repetition of that. Therefore, we discussed, we remember in the beginning of the 13th chapter, where Krishna is saying that I am again explaining you this. So we discussed there that Krishna is only going to speak about devotional service. To be personal assistant of the king, last part of the purport, one must acquire qualification. Thus, the qualification is to become Brahman or freed from all material contamination. It is said in Vedic literature, Brahmaiva san Brahmapyeti. One can attain the Supreme Brahman by becoming Brahman. This means that one must qualitatively become one with the Brahman. By attainment of Brahman, one does not lose his eternal Brahman identity as an individual soul. So here Prabhupada is explaining the understanding about Brahman. So from that we can understand that Brahman does not always mean Brahma Jyoti, but it is the platform of Brahman. Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpate. wherein one is situated in his eternal constitutional position of a servant of the servant. That is also Brahman platform. And then finally, in the last verse, Krishna says, Brahmano hi pratisthapam amrutasya amrutasya cha shashvatasya cha dharmasya sukhasya cha.
And I am the basis of the impersonal Brahman, which is immortal, imperishable, and eternal, and is the constitutional position of ultimate happiness.
So finally, Krishna is explaining that I am the basis of this impersonal Brahman, and he is explaining qualities of impersonal Brahman, which is immortal, imperishable, and eternal. So like that. So in the middle part of the purport, Prabhupada says, at this stage, the Brahman realized person is transcendental to the material position, but is not actually perfect in Brahman realization. If he wants, he can continue to stay in Brahman position and then gradually rise up to Paramatma and then to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And there are many examples of this in Vedic literature. Can anyone say one or two examples? Shukadeva Goswami and the 4 Kumaras, they were on the Brahman realization, and then when they Shukadeva Goswami heard Srimad Bhagavatam from Vyasdev, he rose to the Bhagwan realization. And similarly, when 4 Kumaras, they took the darshan of the Lord, not the darshan, just the smell of the aroma of the tulasi, which was placed at the lotus feet of the Lord. And they took that aroma, they rose to the higher platform of Brahman realization. So like that. Therefore, and Prabhupada further says, therefore, in spite of being raised to the Brahman platform, there is chance of falling down if one is not engaged in devotional service of the Lord. Tvayasta bhavat avishuddha buddhaya aruhya krutshena param padam tata patantyada anadita yushmadangraya. Brahmaji says this in the 10th canto, that if somebody rises to the platform of Brahman but doesn't take shelter of your lotus feet, O my dear Lord, then he is bound to fall down back again in the material world. So after reaching to the Brahman platform, one can remain stable only when one takes the shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So finally Prabhupada gives again the summary of this whole chapter, that how the living entity gets entrapped into the material world because of his desire to lording it over the material nature. But by association of the spiritual master, one's material desire to dominate is removed and one becomes firmly situated in Lord's transcendental loving service. This process mentioned, Prabhupada mentions about chanting of the holy name and observing fasting days, commemorating appearance and disappearance of the Lord, and by following such a process, one becomes completely detached from all material activities. One who can thus situate himself in Brahma Jyoti or the different varieties of the Brahman conception is equal to the Supreme Personality of Godhead in quality. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports to the 14th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita in the matter of the 3 modes of material nature. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Any questions on this last section of the Bhagavad Gita? I think it's too late. That's why devotees are fearing to ask a question. Anyway, we will take next session if there are any questions. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vrinda ki jai.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.